And mute.
That's a good idea too. So just because you're muted doesn't mean you can't unmute and ask questions at any time. Keep that in mind. So tonight, we're going to apply the same concept of outrageous colors, but to a landscape. Now, you are welcome to use any photo you wish. I am using a photo of my friend parked on up in Monument Valley somewhere. And this is something her daughter had sent me as one of the best memories she has of her mother. So I wanted to do something to commemorate that for her daughter. It doesn't really matter to me what photo you use. What does matter is that you start off with black and white and that you forget what you know because we are going to change the colors. We're going to be a little radical about this. Now, having said that, try to keep in mind three rules of creating perspective when it comes to landscapes. The first rule is that all your warm colors are going to be in the front or the foreground. So, what that means, all my warm colors are going to be on the figure and this part of the rocks. The cool colors are going to be receding in the background. Warm colors come forward, cool colors recede. So I want to make sure that I keep those cool colors mostly back here. So I'm going to pay real close attention to color temperature. Second point that's crucial here is value. The darkest darks are the cast shadows around the figure, and they're going to be in the foreground. The shadows in the background and on the distant hill are dark, but they're not near as dark. So the fives in this case are not just limited to facial features, they're also, parts of the cast shadows, parts of the face, and so forth. So I'll be adding a few more fives. Lastly, there's a texture difference here and a size difference. So the texture is going to be a lot clearer on the rocks in the foreground. The rocks in the background are going to be a little smoother, cooler, more distant. They're also going to be smaller. The rocks in the foreground and the figure are going to be the biggest things on the page. So I'm going to keep those rules of perspective, but I'm going to let everything else be colorful. So, having said that, let's go over the process again, just to be clear. So, moving to the easel, you print your photo reference, whatever you choose, on a piece of paper. Put some charcoal on the backside of the paper. If you don't have charcoal, any kind of pastel will work. Position so that it's in a pleasing composition, then using something that won't destroy your reference photo, lightly transfer every detail from your photo reference to your support. And when you're done, you'll have basically a ghost outline. Now, I went ahead and pre-sketched this and added a little more detail to make it easier on myself because I'm not going to be putting facial features and fingers. I'm going to keep that pretty simple. So I went ahead and did some detail there. I'm going to give you a minute to pre-sketch and transfer your image. So when you're ready for the next step, give me a thumbs up. Thanks, Jackie. Thanks, Vivian. Thanks, Karen. You guys are so prepared.
Sean, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Here's the colors I'm using. I mean the photograph.
Hmm.
Now, because it's not that much in the distance, is it still cool in the back?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so still keep everything on that hill past the dog uh,
Okay.
lighter than a 4.
Lighter than a 4, but
Mhm.
cool colors.
Yes,
Oh,
cool and
cool,
lighter
cool.
than 4.
Lighter than a 4.
Yes, Vivian, please jump in.
And I have the same question.
Mm. Ooh,
This is Cathedral Rock in Sedona.
uh-huh.
And so according to one of the rules, then the foreground is warm and the rocks in the background are cool.
That's a little different because your foreground is a reflection.
Yes.
So that rule does not apply here.
Okay. Darn.
As a matter of fact, I would say make that little spit of land in front warm. And then
Okay.
everything else in the background can be whatever color you choose because you already have your warm in place. So if you have some warm and cool on the rocks back there, it won't make a big difference.
Okay. All right. And I have numbered it for the values, just
Okay,
like we did our portrait. Um,
excellent.
thank
Excellent.
you.
You're most welcome. Okay, so as you know, if you have finished with your transfer and you're waiting for everyone else, go ahead and take a few moments and start numbering your values. So take this time to jot down a few little notes to yourself. Make sure you know where your darkest darks and lightest lights are. If you're not sure what numbers, use the value scale and hold it physically up against your photo reference as you do this so that you can determine which is which. As we said, anything that's in the background should be less than a 4. In the foreground is where your 5s and 4s will be. So keep that in mind. All right, when everyone is finished with the numbering and the transfer, let me know. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Vivian. You all caught up, Jackie? Awesome. So we'll move to our color palette. Now, I'm not going to be that different than the color palette I've used the other few times. So if you still have your color set out from that, then you're good to go. But I'm going to go over them quickly with you just in case, starting with the darkest darks. So for the 5 value, I'm choosing a soft dark black, a hard dark black, and a hard dark brown, mainly because there's some crevices in the rocks. So that's where the dark brown comes in. These are my 5s. I'm going to move pretty quickly through the 4s. This is true violet. So it's a dark violet. This is red violet. It's a warm violet. And this is blue violet. So it's a darker blue violet, mainly because the blue makes the violet go a little bit darker looking to the eye. But they're all on the 4. This is true blue. And then the last 4 is teal. Got to have a little teal. Now I'm going to tweak it a little here. I'm using a couple of oranges instead of red. So the first orange, this is a lighter or more of a middle orange, I should say. So it's a 3. So it's a middle value orange. If you're doing a desert scene with a lot of rocks, you may want to add a few more earthy rock colors like oranges, red violets. The next color, instead of red, I'm using a reddish orange. So the difference between these 2 colors, this is orange, this is reddish orange. So you can see this is warmer. I'm using a lavender, light purple. A light blue. For the green, I decided to put 2 greens in. One is a cool green, one is a warm green. The cool green is for the trees in the distance. The warm green is for the shrub in the foreground. Now for the 2s. I'm using a light orange. This is one step lighter than the 3 value. It's a 2, and it's going to be a color I use quite a bit on her skin. I'm also using a light pink. I'm not exactly sure where, but I'm going to find a spot. And I'm using a cooler version of pink, which is a lavender. So this is a very light lavender. It's more of a mauve than a lavender, I guess. I don't know if you can hear my dog, but she's dreaming and barking in her dreams. Oh, cute. Next is pure yellow. Light blue. This is a 2 value, light blue. Another version of lavender. Now I'm using 2 lavenders. This is the warm version. This is the regular light purple. So you can see the difference between the two. This would be called mauve. This is violet or lavender. Poor honey. Mind you, she sleeps all day long, so I don't know what she could be dreaming about. Okay, then for the ones, I might add a couple more. So I'm using a very light yellow white. This is a warm highlight. In addition, I'm using a light blue. The one is clearly warm, the other is clearly cool. Those are standard. In addition to this, I'm going to put in a light green and a light yellow. And these are going to be highlight colors. So those are the main colors. The few tweaks I made were basically for the rocks, adding a few more oranges and pinks. When you have your palette all set up and ready to go, give me a thumbs up. Thank you, Karen. Thanks, Vivian. Thanks, Jackie. Thanks, Sue. Okay. We're going to start the painting process. Make sure that you have your reference photo as close to your work surface as possible. My reference photo is just off camera. That way it's easy for me. I don't have to move my eyes in any direction and try to remember anything. So I'm starting off with my darkest dark. This is the 5 value. And just like on the pet portrait and the people portrait, I'm going to put it in the eye sockets, on the sunglasses, nostrils, corners of the mouth, but also the shadowy side of the hair, especially between the hair and the neck. And then I'm going to make a pattern of cast shadows, the darkest part of the shadow. not the entire shadow, but the darkest part, all the way down the body. All right, I'm going to switch to dark brown for some of the um, creases and cast shadows on the rocks. And come back over these and make them cooler with another color later. For now, I want to have some of these contours and creases. All right, those are the darkest darks. Those are the fives. All right, in 1 minute, we're going to move to the fours. All right, now we're moving to the colorful parts. So I'm starting off with true violet. Violet is a shapeshifter, could go either way. So I'm going to start off by putting it on my friend. This is a good color for some of the darks in her hair. This is a 4, and it's a 4 that is a transitional 4. It could be warm or cool. So I tend to put violet in places where the warm is transitioning to the cool. So for example, where the light is hitting, that's warm. And then as it moves to the shadows, that's cool. So this is a good color for the depth of the cast shadow on her body, especially on the sunny side. Next color is warm violet. So this is red violet. I'm putting it as a shadow color on the rocks. It's an intense warm color. This is a good color for some of those shadows because the light is reflecting into the shadows on these rocks. So that's going to be warming them up. Now, here's a crucial thing. If you're following along with me on this reference photo, notice on her legs that there is a very strong form shadow down the center of the leg. That's a 4 value. One side, the sun is hitting, that's a 1 value. The other side is a 2 value. It's getting a lot of reflected light from the rocks. But I want to have this dark in the center be pretty darn dark. So I'm using the red violet, and it's a 4 value. All right, next color is blue violet. Blue violet. Now this is a cooler version of violet. So I'm going to use it to help cool some of the shadows. Make sure that these rocks have an intense dark shadow that is also cooler in the center, warmer on the outer edge. So it's cooler, like a line in the middle. I'm also going to use this color on the closest part of the background. So this is the closest 4 I will have, mainly because this group of rocks has some strong darks in them that are dark blue. Next color is true blue. True blue. Now, on the figure, she is wearing some blue jean shorts. So I'm going to put just a touch of dark blue on the shadow side. Maybe some on the sneakers. But I don't want to use blue in the foreground too much. Mostly it's going to go in the middle ground and then as the dark color on the craggy rocks in the background. Okay, last color on the fours is teal. Teal is a wonderful color for some of those shrubs. Actually, before I put that teal in, I'm going to do a little wash with this cool green on the floor of the canyon here. I'm sorry, I don't mean to jump around, but this needs to happen before we put the teal in. Now the teal can look more like shrubs. So I'm making marks that are bigger the closer I am to the front. And then those marks get smaller and more concentrated as I move back in space. That's going to create that illusion of perspective. Remember, texture. This helps create the illusion too. Okay. In 1 minute, we're going to move to the threes. 1 minute. All right, lovely people. Now we're going to move to the threes. We're going to make it all the way through the whole line of colors on the three and then break in the middle to evaluate. So we're going to start off on the warm side with the orange. This is basically the color I'm using to mass in the rocks. I'm going to be putting another color on top of this, the reddish orange, but this is going to be the bulk of some of the color. I'm going to add some highlights to it as well. I'm going to use a little bit of this color on her skin as well. So this color is going to be a warm color in the hair, and it's going to be the color of the shadow towards the center of her face. This is the strongest, warmest color. So I'm going to keep it only on the rocks and the figure in the foreground. None of it gets put in the background. When you're done with that color, move to the reddish orange and use it on top of this color in places to create some texture and deepen the intensity of that color on the rocks. So I'm scumbling that color right on top, but you still see the orange clearly underneath. I'm reflecting a little bit of this color into the shadow side of her shirt. And up into some of the shadows on her face. Again, this is a super warm color, so don't use any of it in the background. It should stay totally in the foreground. Okay, next color I'm using is lavender. Lavender. This is the shadow color on the front of her t-shirt. I'm also going to use a little bit of this lavender in the hills to create some reflected light on the faces of the rocks. Now, wherever possible, you want to have your colors pull the eye through the composition. So I have a little bit of warm over here in the foreground with a touch of lavender and then a bunch of lavender up here. Later, I'm going to put a little bit of warm in that lavender, and that's going to create this beautiful visual chemistry between the two sides of this painting. That'll help pull it together quite a bit. So there is a method to the madness. The next color we're going to use is blue. This is 3 value blue. I'm putting it in a couple of places. The first one, I want you to think a little bit about the planar values on this figure. Parts of her body are facing the sky. For example, this shoulder and her chest, they're going to be reflecting some of the sky. So I'm using the blue on top of the violet. Give that feel right across the chest here. Top part of the chest is going to be facing up towards the sky. There is a little bit of blue on the folds. If you want to put that in, you can. And then I'm going to use this 3-value blue for the light color of the denim. The denim is in full sun, so it reads as really light. I can actually go on top of this with other highlights later. I'm going to make an effort to thin her a little bit in this. I know that sounds horrible, but knowing her, I know that if she looked at this picture, she would think she looked heavy. So I'm going to be careful about some of the lines and the edges and just thin them a little bit. And I encourage you when you're doing portraits to do the same thing. You don't go crazy with it, but try to flatter the model as much as you can when you can. That's the fun thing about being an artist and not a camera is we can take some artistic license. I would rather this be a really good memory for her daughter and a painting that she would look at and recognize herself in and not look at it and say, oh my God, I look so fat there, which I know I would do. All right, this blue color is the color of the distant hill. It's also the same value as the sky on the top. So I'm just going to block in the top, maybe 2 inches with some sky color. This is the dark part of the sky right overhead. We're going to come in here with 2 more values of blue. All right. Once you're finished with that blue, I'm moving to the warm green. Warm green. This warm green is for the sagebrush looking shape that's closest to her. It overlaps the background. The cool green is for the valley, sweeping all the way from the middle ground to the background. We have already put a layer of this down. We put the teal on top of it. So now I'm just making sure that that cool color shows through and creating a little bit of texture around the teal. Okay. That is the midpoint. So when you've reached a stopping point, let's take a look. This is time for the midpoint critique. Vivian. Hi, Vivian.
This is a disaster, but it's okay because I'm learning.
I
I
think
got
your idea of disaster is different than
uh,
everyone else's. Okay.
um I need to just crop this bottom part right now. It's just the reflection is getting me.
So every time you use a color above the waterline, use it below. Um, what is the bluish, tealish?
It's that spit of land.
Yeah, that's not reading as warm. That's reading as cool.
Okay. All
I think
right.
that's the big problem. I would lift that color up and use yellow and
Oh,
yellow green and
okay.
really push it towards a warmer color because you have so much warm in the background.
Yes, yes.
I would
Okay.
also use a little more of the cooler colors in the background. Let me see your reference photo again.
So like lavenders.
Yes. So on the top part, where the sun's hitting the monuments,
Uh-huh.
that's where you're going to keep your warms. But on the bottom part where the rock slides are,
Uh-huh.
go with some cooler lavenders and blue violets and bluish colors in there.
Okay. All right. I will give that a try and definitely change the spit of land here.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Okay.
kind of throwing me for a loop. And when you are finished with the water, there's a couple of tricks you can do on that water. So I'll tell you about those then.
Okay. All right. Great.
Good work.
Thanks.
All right, Jackie, you look ready.
Oh yeah. Uh, I,
Oh,
okay, I know this is the wrong color of light green. I have no idea what it should be.
I
This
kind
was
of like that color, light green.
so there you go.
Okay, is this the hubby by chance?
Oh yeah.
Let
Oh
me see the picture again.
no.
So the pattern of shadows on the side of his face, facing the mountains and valleys, that needs to be a little darker and cooler. Everything else looks really
Okay.
good. Do
Okay.
you see what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I,
That's
I
it.
do on
That's
the
the only
face.
change I would make. I recognized him from that,
You did.
from your
That's
painting. Yeah.
yeah, he's been to your class. Well, he's
Yes,
been to your class once or twice.
exactly. I remember him from class. Yeah.
Okay, well anyway, yes, I will work on that. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. Karen, are you ready? You look like you're taking the painting off. Ooh, you're using UArt. Good for you. Good paper makes a big difference. Oh, I love how this is coming out.
My husband looks pretty good, actually.
He does. He does. And the granddaughter,
That's my grandson.
grandson,
Yeah.
they look like they're in full sun. So that's working well too.
Okay.
So So the
I-
darks look really good at this point. You have a
Okay.
good play of dark and middle values. Now,
Okay.
you may want to throw in a few more greens to your
Okay.
palette. I didn't have that many green things to paint in my painting, so I didn't
Okay.
put any in, but feel free to add more colors.
Okay.
Just,
Good.
try to keep it colorful.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Looking good. So far, so good.
Thank you.
Sue, if you're ready, I'd love to see your work. Yay.
Let's see.
Okay.
I went
Got it.
sideways, but I don't have
Oh,
that setting on my um well, I guess it's okay.
yeah, you're fine. I can see
Okay.
the whole thing. Okay, so we're going to be adding one more value to those rocks, and that's
Okay.
going to really help make the rocks pop, but bring some of that rock color into her skin tone, some of that orange.
Orangey, okay.
Yes,
Okay.
because the rocks reflect light up onto her. So
Okay.
if you look at the reference photo, you'll see that her cheek, her neck,
Right.
and
Yeah.
chin, the underside of her arm, and even her legs are reflecting some of that rock color.
Okay.
So toss that in there.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Somehow I missed the bend in her legs. I had it drawn in there, but it looks like they're straight now. I'll work on that.
Okay. All right. Looks good so far. It's difficult to imagine when you're halfway through a painting. You know, it's hard to delay gratification and not want to toss that baby out with the bathwater. Okay. I'm going to give everybody a minute to make whatever changes they need to make. And then we're going to start in on the twos. Remember to suspend disbelief. Don't judge your work at this stage. Judge your values. Are my darks in the right places? Are they dark enough? Am I seeing the shape of these rocks, the shape of her body? Do the shadows define the shadow side of her body? You know, those are the things to look for, not is this looking like her or is this looking like a mess and so forth. Try to let go of the negative thoughts and instead look at the structure. You want to make sure you've got some of the form and value in place. Okay, let's pick up where we left off. We're starting with the twos, and we're going with the warms first and then the cools. So, starting with the twos, the first color is light orange, light orange. Now, this is a color that's really going to help me add some shape to the rocks. I try to think of the rocks as being planes, and any part of the rock that's facing up towards the sky is going to have a bit of this highlight on it. So I'm not using the highlight everywhere, but I am using it to create texture and shape on these rocks, make some ledges. I also want to use this color as the next value on her skin tone. So her skin is reflecting some of the color of the sunlight, and some of the rocks are also reflecting onto her skin. So I'm putting some of this rock color as a skin tone. Use this light color to describe the light parts of the body, or the places where the light is illuminating her skin tone. There's some very distinct shapes. That's a concept like negative space that'll help you define the form. Now I am going to take some of this lighter 2 color into the background and use it to define where the top edge of some of these cliffs are, some of the rocks. I'm using that same flesh color to show a few paths out in the grasses too. All right, next color. I'm going to go with the mauve color and then the lavender color. So the mauve color is a warm color. I'm going to use it on the rocks to create some texture. This is more of a shadowy color. It's a cool. So I'm putting it in the shadow side. This is also a good color to use on the rock faces. On the other side. So this mauve will contrast nicely with the purple, create some texture. I'm using this as a shadow color on the figure to help deepen and enrich some of the shadows. All right, and then when you're done with the mauve, with the violet, this is a very light violet. I'm going to use this to define the t-shirt in a few places. And then to lighten up some of the rock formations in the background. Okay, I'm going to keep us moving methodically through this. Next color is yellow. Yellow is a strong highlight color. I'm going to use it as a pop color here and there on the rocks. Very little, and mostly on the surfaces that have the light orange. Oops. I'm also going to use this color as a texture color on the shrub, just to break it up and make it stand out a little bit more from the blue-green in the background. On the figure, this color goes on the hair. And is a highlight where the sun is hitting the face and the body all the way down. So think of it as this is sunlight. Wherever you see the sunlight hitting the body, you're going to put a touch of little of yellow. I'm not using this color anywhere past the foreground. It's only a foreground color. Next color, and we're moving into the cools, is light blue. This light blue is going in right next to the dark blue up in the sky. It's one step lighter. It would be a transition color between it and the lightest color. Okay. Everyone finished with their twos. Wrapping up. I'll give you one more minute and then we're going to move to the ones. All right, so for the ones, we're going to start off with light blue. I'm going back up into the sky and I'm putting light blue along the horizon. Right up against the figure, up against the distant hill. And I'm overlapping the other blue. This is the 2 value blue. I'm going to take that light blue onto the t-shirt. And onto the pants. And then that's it for the light blue for now. Next color is light yellow. This is the warm color. I'm going to pull a little bit of it as a highlight on her hair. The light yellow is the highlight on the skin where the sun is hitting. So I'm making a little mark just to indicate sunlight with that yellow. I'm also going to use it to describe the part of the t-shirt that's facing the sun. So this is the shoulder mainly. The planes of her legs that are facing up towards the sun are also getting a little bit of that light yellow. And then the arm that's outstretched, touching the rock, this needs to have a whole line of light yellow to separate it from the rock. I'm going to reserve the light yellow just for the figure. All right, and then the last thing I'm going to do is use a little bit of pure white as a highlight color. There's a shiny spot on her forehead, shiny spot on those glasses. So the one or the lightest light, anywhere where you see that highlight, that shiny highlight, and neck of the t-shirt. And there's a shiny little highlight on her leg. I'm not going to put it anywhere else. I want to reserve this mainly for the figure so that she stands out against the rocks. That'll give her a different texture than the rocks. The rocks are going to be craggy and matte. She's going to be a little glossy because she's a living being. She's got a little sweat sheen. Her skin's going to be a little shinier. But she's special. She's my friend. So she gets a little extra something, something.
Is that
You
a
know,
new pastel that you're using, or is it a some kind of a tool? I notice it's pretty
no,
long.
no, this is a pastel pencil, and
Oh, okay.
it has a brown to
Okay,
it,
gotcha.
so um, it's almost the same color as this, which I really
Okay.
like. It
Okay.
just makes it a little easier for me to reach over
Oh, for goodness sakes, yes. So,
those small spots. All right, so this is pretty much the last touch. Now, one of the things I like about this method is even though we're using such unusual colors, because we focus more on color temperature than anything else, you have lifelike realism. I mean, at least in the color. This is also how Soroya and Sargent created their paintings, is they were very much interested in creating color temperature, not so much interested in lifelike color. So they used a lot of wild and unusual color by our standards, but they came up with some beautiful, very real looking um, color temperature in their painting, especially figures next to rocks. I can only imagine what a job Soroya would do with this photo. All right, I didn't do a whole lot of blending here. On the rocks, we want to keep some hard edges, so skip the blending there. And if some of your darts got lost in the process, you may need to add them back. I did put a little blending in the middle ground and in the distance just to soften some of those edges and let them disappear. We don't want to have our edges as hard in the background as we do in the front and the middle ground. So we saved the hard edges for the figure, for the rocks, even those shrubs, and that's about it. We have soft lost edges in the distance and the hills. Oh, one last thing on those clouds. To create that illusion of perspective, I'm taking a pure white on top of the light roof. Get a bigger one. And I'm making some thin lines close to the horizon. that will lay flat. As I move to the middle ground, the lines are a little thicker, the shapes are a little thicker. They start to become more cloud shapes. And then in the foreground or up where the darkest blue is, the shapes are going to be puffy like cotton. You can see them more clearly. This texture difference creates that illusion of perspective, just like we did with the little sage brushes in the valley down below. The same thing will create some texture and perspective in the clouds up in the sky. I'm not going to go to a lot of trouble to paint these clouds. They're lost edges. So I don't want them to be too clear. And I may take a finger and just soften some of the edges here and there to make sure there's no architectural edges up in the sky. You want to avoid having any hard architectural shapes up there. This is a soft midday painting. If I wasn't recreating a memory for my friend's daughter, I would have made a sunset behind her and just made it more evening painting. All right, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Not going to do much else with this painting. I'd love to see what you did with it. So when you're ready, unmute, give me a wave, and let's take a look at these finished products.
Okay, I'll go first. I didn't do the painting tonight, but I couldn't sit here and just watch.
What did you do? I
Let's
love
see.
that Christmas tree. That's beautiful. Mm.
Oh, my daughter has a beautiful home, and there's another tree right over here, if you can see it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Lovely. Really lovely. So let's see
and
what
all
trouble
these
you've been
windows.
getting into.
Her middle name's Joy. We started a joy tree when she was very young, and now it's covered with joy ornaments.
Oh, that's
Let's see.
adorable.
Okay. Let's see if I can get you enlarged. I can't see what's going on. Here's what I
Okay.
did.
Ah, you were sketching Santa. That's hilarious. That is
Couldn't
hilarious.
resist. I love the pillows. I said, I'm going to paint and draw that.
You're so adorable. Well, I'm glad you had a little fun.
Definitely.
Excellent. Well, VJ, it was wonderful to see you, and I hope to see what you do with this video and painting later in the week.
That looks
Sue,
challenging.
I sure
Yes.
hope so. Otherwise, it'd be a waste of time.
I pooped out
Oh, look at that.
ways in. My phone actually needed to get charged, and I was getting pretty tired, so I think since the last break, I've been just listening in and then trying to remember all the steps, but I'll sit down with the recording again.
Good. Yeah, sometimes it's helpful to start when you're fresh.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing is it looks like you have the color temperature correct, and the values are pretty close.
Okay.
Pretty close. Um, so a little bit darker in the foreground.
I see that you simplified some of that rock stuff, and I like it better, what you did on yours. You made it
Uh,
smooth.
yeah, feel free to do
Yeah, I
that.
think yeah, because it's a little distracting. I think I'd be better off, not worrying about that and doing just keep
Mhm.
on keeping on.
Agreed. Agreed,
Yeah.
my friend.
I decided he looks like Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah,
Look at that face. Back from you know where.
that's really funny. All right. Thank you for participating, Sue. And if you make any changes, shoot me an email with it. I'd love to see. Um, Vivian, don't forget to unmute.
This has been so crazy.
Oh wow. You know,
Ah,
making that spit of land yellow helped a
oh
lot. A lot. Turn it, yeah, that's good. Now lift it up a little so I can see the bottom.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, the reflection is pretty much
Okay.
not done. Yeah.
No, but the reflection looks good, so it's off to a good start. With
Oh
the
God.
reflection, bring it straight down with your thumb. Remember that trick?
Okay.
And
Yes.
then
Yes.
bring a line or two across the surface of the water with a hard pastel, and that'll give
Yes.
the illusion of water. Um,
Okay.
you might want to spend a few more minutes on those monuments
Okay.
because that's such an iconic view that people are going to recognize it.
Oh
So
goodness.
come back to it when you're fresh
All
and
right.
spend a few minutes playing with it, not necessarily using the same colors. You can use some more realistic colors if you want to and round them out a little, but
Okay.
keep some of the vibrancy and the reflection and maybe soften some of the darks and the edges in those
Okay. Yes.
documents. Okay,
All
good.
right. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Worth a little more time.
Appreciate it.
Karen, you look like you're ready.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Karen, that shape of Earth is so luscious. I just want to play in it. You know, the dark cast shadow in the
Oh,
front, the
okay.
warm purple. I love how that looks. You
Okay.
don't really need to tell us what's happening behind them. Like
Uh-huh.
it's okay to have it undefined.
Okay.
If you want to spend a few more minutes because your husband and grandson might like that sense of place, then it would be worth it. But otherwise, it's an interesting multi-figure piece.
I couldn't the details on the grandson I couldn't get, but I figured
Hmm.
just kept it simple.
Yeah, that means they're not important, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, remember when we did children, you don't need to do fingers or features.
Uh-huh.
You can just get the general shape. Your husband, I believe,
Yes.
he looks perfect because
Yeah.
you don't really see any features or fingers.
Yeah. Yeah.
That worked excellent.
Uh-huh. So
Very
you think this is
paisley.
okay right here?
Yeah, I really love it.
Okay, good. All
I
right.
love it. That it brings you right in like an arrow.
Oh, I see. Oh,
You
I
know, the
see.
composition
Okay.
pulls you straight in.
Okay. They were gardening. Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you.
All right, beautifully done. Okay, lovely people. This was a challenging class. You know, what I love about doing these exercises with you is it sharpens your perception of warm and cool. Like you really start to see color and evaluate it. Is it warm? Is it cool? Is it warmer or cooler? Could it be pushed? Um, Also, we built up in layers. So we did a lot of texture on this painting. Those rocks are layers and layers of texture. There's many different ways to use pastel, and that's one. It's also one that I don't often use, but taking the time to do that creates some really neat effects. So there's a tool for your tool belt or a technique for your art box. Now, the next series is iridescent. It isn't necessarily limited to iridescent pastels. It's capturing the effect of luminous iridescence. So the photos are up on my website if you want to get a better idea. But we're going to be painting the morning mist that's iridescent with the sun coming through it, snow that's iridescent with the light hitting it. So we're going to be hitting that. I suggest you ask Santa to put a couple of iridescent pastels in your stocking. I'll send you some links in case Santa doesn't know where to buy them. The few that I'll be using will be from Mount Vision, and they'll be mostly lighter and bluer colors. So I'll send you some links with some ideas. You don't have to have iridescence to do the class, but they will give your painting a little bit of bling, a little something that'll create some surface texture. The one thing that pastel does not have is surface texture. So with those iridescents, you're getting that little bit of surface texture. Right. You all have a very Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. You too.
Hope you enjoy your families and yourselves and give those grandkids great big hugs and kisses, and those husbands treasure them and the time you have together.
Thank
Safe
you.
travels too.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
safe travels.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Right. God
Merry
bless
Christmas.
everybody.
Happy
Thank you.
holidays.
Hope to see you all again.
Bye-bye.